My friends. Is my microphone on? Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to see you all. Today is going to be a little different. The music that we will be doing is all Sufi related. So we'll be singing in Arabic a lot, but I will help you. And if you get lost or can't keep up with the words, la 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 is perfectly fine. Okay, but let's start with one that you do probably know. Come, come, whoever you are. Let's rise, shall we? Maybe we should waltz on this one.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, 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 whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, 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 whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come.
It is called The Ocean Refuses No River, which is a classic theme in Sufism, that all become the ocean. So this one has some Arabic in it. First of all, the melody, let's just do the melody. The ocean refuses no river, no river. The ocean refuses no river, no river. And this goes, Ishq Allah, Ma'bud Allah, Il Allah. So that's Ishq Allah, Ma'bud Allah, Il Allah. Yes? Oh, you got it. Like I said, la 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 works really well. Ishq Allah, Ma'bud Allah, Il Allah. Ishq Allah, Ma'bud Allah, Il Allah. From the top. The ocean refuses. I'm going to let you hold it. No river, no river. The ocean refuses no river, no river. Ishq Allah, Ma'bud Allah, Il Allah. Ishq Allah, Ma'bud Allah, Il Allah. The ocean refuses no river, no river. The ocean refuses no river, no river. Ishq Allah, Ma'bud Allah, Il Allah. Ishq Allah, Ma'bud Allah, Il Allah. The ocean refuses no river, no river. The ocean refuses no river, no river. Ishq Allah, Ma'bud Allah, Il Allah. Ishq Allah, Ma'bud Allah, Il Allah.
Doing a few things here. Okay. All right. I'm Janet Gillette, worship associate here, and I'm honored to be helping our fabulous minister, Dana. And good morning. Welcome to Namakwa Unitarian Universalist Congregation. We're really glad you're here. This is a come as you are congregation, and you're welcome here just as you are. I want to extend a special welcome to any visitors. Are there any visitors here today? Yay, welcome. Be sure, we would like to keep in touch with you, stay connected, let you know what we're up to. So in case there's something in particular that you would like to do with us, please sign up for our communications up here at the main entrance. Here at Namakwa UU, we foster a beloved community that celebrates diversity, strives for peace and justice, acts mindfully for the good of the planet, and inspires spiritual growth through a free and loving search for truth and meaning. We honor the ground we walk upon and acknowledge this land as the traditional and ancestral homeland of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations and peoples. We recognize and honor, We recognize and honor the indigenous peoples as original stewards of this land, and we vow to reconcile the deep wounds that still shape our history today. Just a few announcements. Next Sunday, February 4th, Us and Them, a cautionary tale with a guest speaker, Herb Orell. For UUs, working for justice and equity is not a culture war, it's a spiritual path driven and guided by our belief in the worth and dignity of everyone, both the oppressed and the oppressor. Join us as we explore ways to help make sure that when we stand for justice and equity, we are also standing on the side of love. A board forum. Join the Board of Trustees after this service. After this service? After this service. See, I really know what I'm doing. For an informational forum, we'll discuss our recent, highly successful Giving in Gratitude Special Fund Drive, in line with our commitment to transparency. Treasurer Alan Van Nest and Doug Stewart. Where's Doug? Anyway, they will provide an update on NUUC's current financial situation and plans. Please take note of all the other events happening this week and this month on the calendar. You can find printed copies back there at the entrance as well on the wall. It takes many hands to bring each Sunday service to you, and we thank everyone involved in today's service.
Thank you. So last June, Kathy Hartman purchased a sermon from me of her choice at the auction that we had. Knowing that I identify as a Sufi, and I was thinking about, what part am maybe a third Sufi, half Sufi, I don't know, part Buddhist, part, yeah, yeah. Slip and I were talking about that, and they mentioned that too. It's so cool. Yeah, go ahead.
Like at a mic, yeah. So we were talking, Dana was surprised at my own background in Sufism and Buddhism, and I said, yeah, I tell my friend I'm a third Buddhist, and he says, that's a very Buddhist thing to say.
Anyhow, so Kathy asked if I would do a service on Sufism. And of course, it was a joy to find out that Slip is also has a background in Sufism. So they will be part of the service today too. More than just our accompanist, I must say. So today we're going to sing Sufi songs. So it's all pretty much going to be new to you. And I thank the choir members that are going to be helping us out. And I'm going to do a Dharma talk instead of a sermon, and you might be wondering what that is. I'm going to sit down and talk from notes instead of my usual script. So we'll do things a little differently, and it's to give us a feeling of it rather than, there's a lot that you can catch that I can't tell you. So we're going to bring that to you in the atmosphere Sufis honor all faith traditions and learn from all faith traditions, but everyone always comes back to the path of love. Everything always comes back to the path of love, the path of the heart, and learning to refine oneself day by day using spiritual practices to let go of ego and merge with all that is. This is called polishing the heart. Polishing the heart. My heart still needs some polishing. Yeah. Unlike other sects in Islam, the Sufis use poetry and music, song and dance to pray and practice, which we will have a taste of today. Whirling dervishes, you've heard of whirling dervishes, you've perhaps seen them, are Sufis, and they are practicing ecstasy, not the drug, but the practice, which can get you much further. Merging with love is the goal of the practice. You will hear a lot of reference to Allah, especially in the songs that we will sing known as Zikr. Allah is generally translated in our language as God, but actually this is a bit incorrect. If one defines God in a traditional Western Christian perspective, the word Allah is a mere image of itself. If you think about it, Allah. Al in Arabic is yes, or the sacred something. And La is no, or the sacred nothing. So Allah is all that is and isn't, all that arises and dissolves, the unifying of all duality, sacred unity, all of life. Now, if that was your concept of a Christian God, congratulations, but most not. We refer to Allah as love, but also the lover and the beloved. And I leave you with a question. If Allah is love, lover, and beloved, the one that's loved, who are you? Who are you? The great 13th century poet, I'll leave you with that. The great 13th century poet and Islamic scholar Jalaluddin Rumi explains it this way. I looked for myself, but myself was gone. The boundaries of my being had disappeared into the sea. Waves broke, awareness rose again, and a voice returned me to myself. It always happens like this. Sea turns on itself and foams, and with every foaming bit, another body, another being takes form. And when the sea sends the word, each foaming body melts back into the ocean breath. So it is. My friends, I invite us to share together in saying our morning affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its call. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. I invite you now to turn and greet those around you in this spirit of love. Oh, okay. Thank you. That's great.
I kept losing my part because I always put my finger on where I am to hold my place, and I put my finger on it and it would move.
Oh, yeah. I usually lock it. I forgot to do that. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, when all hell breaks loose. So I think we'll just start playing, and I'll just start singing the bottom line. And then once everybody calms down, I'll introduce it. Yeah, okay.
Bismillah, Rahim. Bismillah, Rahman, Rahim.
Bismillah, Bismillah. We begin in the name of Allah, who is mercy and compassion. So we sing this Bismillah, Ir-Rahman, Ir-Rahim. Ir-Rahman, mercy, Ir-Rahim, compassion. So we have 3 parts, and we'll start with the bottom part, and then we will add the second part on top of that for those who want to add some harmony, and then we'll add the third part for those who want to add more harmony. Okay, feel free to sing whichever part you would like.
Bismillah, Rahman, Rahim. Bismillah, Rahman, Rahim. Bismillah, Rahman, Rahim.
Bismillah,
Rahman, Rahim.
Bismillah, Rahman, Rahim. Bismillah, Rahman, Rahim. Bismillah, Rahman, Rahim. Bismillah, Rahman, Rahim. Bismillah, Rahman, Rahim. Bismillah, Rahman, Rahim. Close your eyes. Bismillah, Rahman, Rahim. Bismillah, Rahman, Rahim. Bismillah, Rahman, Rahim. Bismillah, Rahman, Rahim. It's great to just hold the silence, take it in. So beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. And now is our time for all ages, and I have a story. Will you guys come sit with me up here? Come on. Come on. All right. Now, you see, my own grandchildren are not going to come sit with me. Oh, my goodness. Come on, you guys. Come on. There you are. There you are. There you are. Okay. Anybody else? Come on up. Okay. So In Islam, there is the wise fool. And the wise fool, there are a lot of stories about the wise fool, and we call him Mullah Nazruddin. Nazruddin. And he actually was a real person, but I think not all the stories about him are real. Anyhow, so I'm going to tell you a story about him. Are you ready? Yes? Okay. So Mullah Nazruddin had been working in the fields all day long, and he was tired and he was sweaty, and his clothes and shoes were covered with mud and stains. And because he had been fasting all day long for Ramadan, he was also quite hungry. But finally, it was almost sundown, and Nazruddin knew that he would finally be able to eat. Well, you see, the wealthiest man in town had invited everyone to come break their fasts in his home that evening with a huge feast. And Nazruddin knew that he would be late if he went home and changed his clothes before heading into town. So he decided it was better to arrive in dirty clothes than to be late. Okay. Oh, what a party it would be. It would be an amazing feast. And as he walked to the wealthy man's home, Nazruddin imagined, ooh, all the delicious foods. Can you imagine all the delicious foods? It would be mac and cheese, wouldn't it? Maybe not for these guys. But chickpeas and olives and bread and hummus and falafels and chicken and beef and all the best, especially the desserts, halva, date rolls, figs, and baklava. Ooh, delicious. I love baklava. When Nazruddin arrived, the wealthy man opened the door and he looked at Nazruddin very scornfully from his worn, ragged clothes down to his muddy shoes. Can you see him imagining that? Without a word of welcome, he gestured for Nazruddin to come in, and he abruptly walked away. Well, Nazruddin joined the throngs of people all throughout, who were all dressed in their finest clothing. And the tables were laden with all sorts of delicious food. Dates, lentils, chickpeas, like I said. Okay. And despite his efforts to hurry, the seats were all taken and nobody tried to move over and make space for Nazruddin. In fact, nobody even offered him any food. He had to reach over and around people to get any food for his plate. Nobody even spoke to him. This is very nice of them. Were they being rude? What do you think? Was that rude? The other guests ignored him so completely that Nazruddin could not even enjoy the food on his plate. In fact, after only a few bites, Nazruddin was so uncomfortable that he decided, that's it, I'm leaving. And he hurried home and he changed into his beautiful, finest clothing and into a beautiful coat. And then he returned. And when Nazruddin returned to the feast, this time the host welcomed him with a big, huge smile. Come in, come in. As Nazruddin entered, people waved and called to him from all corners of the room, and they invited him to sit next to them and offered him food. Nazruddin sat down quietly, and he picked up a plump fig, and he carefully placed it into his coat pocket, saying, "Eat, coat, eat." And next he took a handful of nuts and put them into the pocket, saying, "Eat, coat, eat." Now he began to feed his coat in earnest, grabbing all sorts of food and stuffing them in his pockets. Lentils and chickpeas and olives and bread and hummus and falafel and chicken and beef, the best of all, the baklava. Nazruddin became silent as they watched this strange behavior. Soon everyone in the room was staring at him. The host hurried over and said, "Nazruddin, what are you doing? Why are you feeding your coat in this manner?" "Well," Nazruddin replied, "when I first came to the feast in my old farming clothes, I was not welcome. No one would speak with me. But when I changed into this coat, suddenly I was greeted warmly. So I realized it was not me that was welcome at this party, but my clothing. And so I'm feeding my coat." Yeah. So what do you think? Were they being rude to him and they should have been nice no matter what he was wearing? What do you think? Well, it's something for us to think about for sure. All right, let's sing you guys out to class. Ready? Okay, here we go. They're going to make a tunnel for you now, and you're going to go under the tunnel. Ready? Here we go.
Oh, hello. Even though there's 2 microphones over there, and even though I'm gonna have to finish here and go right back over there, we decided there was symbolism in standing behind the pulpit and also that I matched it. So my history with Sufism really has to do with the fact that I have a master's in poetry, MFA in poetry, and I fell in love with the American English people would say just the ghazal, a poorer Arabic pronunciation might be the ghazal. It's a poetic form that is sometimes compared to the sonnet. That's not a totally accurate representation, but it gives you an idea of kind of like the entrenchment. Like this is a form that is thousands of years old and originated in Urdu and Persian. So there's really too much to say about why I fell in love with the ghazal as a poetic form. I wrote an entire paper about it in my thesis, as well as a manuscript of them. But there's 3 things that I will try to be very condensed about. And I am an academic and a teacher, so forgive me. Number 1, the abstract, interchangeable, ungendered references to God as love, beloved, friend, the one, and the nature of the ghazal being a love poem that reflects on love, all love, as a kind of reflection of God, who is love, so that a love poem is never just a love poem to an individual, but a reflection on the nature of the divine. 2, the self-address, called the makta, where the poet addresses themselves by their actual name or their pen name in the final couplet. And 3, the image of the mirror, the polished heart, which is a trope that reappears, an image that reappears, that the idea being that the heart should be such a highly polished and pure mirror that when the beloved looks into it, they should see only the best of themselves reflect back at them. And then how all these come together in Rumi's poems for his friend, Shamsi Tabriz. So the makta, where the poet addresses themselves by their pen name, it doesn't really have a parallel in American English poetry because most poetry is what we call lyrical, the lyrical eye. It speaks from the interior eye outward to another usually, right? But this aspect of self-address seems inherently tied to the nature of the ghazal being a theological conversation with the beloved about the self, as much for the self, and the nature of that beloved being manifestly manifold, earthly, divine, animate. The nature of the friend, the one, the beloved, is such that linguistically and narratively abstract encompasses all linguistic and narrative specifics. So I have no desire to do any like Columbusing, and I'm sure there are Muslim and Sufi people who would not be very happy at my interpretation, but as a queer person who also grew up without a father, so I have a real struggle understanding the masculine father figure of Abrahamic religions. And I feel like, intentionally excluded from a lot of religious life. And then I also feel, I myself ended up feeling agendered, ungendered, outside gender. And so the complete openness of that beloved, that friend, it felt like a real opening. It felt like it really welcomed me in. A real welcoming in of all kinds of love, passionate, sexual, platonic, as reflections of God. and by discussing the beloved not only as a particular individual, but as a reflection of God and a possible reflection for every individual. The individual becomes universal, becomes divine. In my favorite poet Khalib's case, the Makta is often an opportunity for irony and sarcasm. It's not always directed at himself, and he's a poet of doubt and censure, as much as ecstasy, so I relate. Rumi, on the other hand, is really known for his ecstatic verses, and he wrote a set of poems for his close friend, Shamsi Tabriz, many of which he'd be hard-pressed to differentiate from our most passionate love poems. And I'm honestly not interested in pinning down whether it's a representation of deep platonic love between men, spiritual love between men, romantic, sexual. I'm just interested in the opening of that love, and in a space and to a depth we might often pull away from or deny between any two platonic friends or same-sex individuals. Such as Rumi's love for Shams, that he often uses Shamsi Tabriz's name in place of his own as a Makta. This is both a subtle, profound reinvention of the form and a deep embodiment of Sufi concepts of the beloved. There's a scholar, Anne-Marie Schimmel, who writes that the popular image of the mirror in Sufi ideology symbolizes the purified heart of the lover, in which the beloved is finally closer to the lover than to himself, so that mysterious union is achieved, and that in this mirror, no verdigris of selfishness is left, so that the beloved can gaze at his own beauty in which the lover mysteriously partakes. And this conflation and erasure of the self in light of the earthly beloved is a reflection of and an enactment of the conflation and erasure of self in the light of the divine beloved. Where Sufi poets use the image of the mirror, Rumi also uses the convention of the Makta, erasing himself so completely that Shams stands joyously in his place. So some examples are, O Shamsi Tabriz, you are the sun obscured by words. When your rays break through, words will disappear. And my soul cannot wait to fly to the high tower that is the spirit of Shamsi Tabriz. And there's a set of poems, there's 48 of these ghazals, and in at least half of them, he replaces his own name with Shams's. So for the chalice lighting today, just a little bit longer than maybe some, I'm gonna read this poem, and this poem is among the more romantic sounding of poems, while others are a little more philosophical or platonic seeming, but I think it gives you a sense of Sufi attention to love. How can one argue for the value of this life when each moment I die at your feet and am revived? Wherever your foot falls, a new head springs forth from the earth. How does one give you up for the sake of one's own unworthy head? The day the soul flies in the rapture of your scent, the soul and only the soul will know the fragrance of the friend. If for a moment this infatuation with you leaves me, my head will sing 1,000 laments, every hair will moan. I emptied my house to have it filled with your goods. I make room for the sake of your ever-increasing love. In search for the love of Shamsi Tabriz, my soul, without feet, will walk the seas like ships. And we light this chalice candle for the polished heart.
And now the secret is out. We have a very multi-talented accompanist. Thank you. That was beautiful. Each week, we support the work of this congregation, and half of the donations that we take in also support a nonprofit. So today, I would like to welcome Kathy, if you want to introduce, and Caitlin Warwick. Did I pronounce Warwick? Oh, great. From Heart and Soul. Yeah, use the mic. use the mic so the Zoom people can hear you. We can use this mic. Is it okay if we turn this mic on? Okay, great.
So Heart and Soul is the agency that you all chose to give to for January and February. And today we have Caitlin Wyrick, who's the director of Heart and Soul, and she's going to give you a quick and easy understanding of what they do and a big event that we've got coming up. And then she's got to leave because she's got to work on that event.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Okay. The microphone is never where it should be for me, so yeah, it's perfect. So I'm Caitlin Wyrick. I'm the executive director of the local nonprofit called Heart and Soul. A little bit about me that I think is important as I talk about Heart and Soul is to talk about who I am. So I'm a 7th generation Lovelander. My family has been in Loveland for over 100 years. Prior to that, we are indigenous to the lands of New Mexico. And on my father's side, he is an immigrant from Mexico. And so I understand that perspective of being a daughter from the lens of a newcomer, and also someone who's grown up here in Northern Colorado and indigenous to the land here in New Mexico, I guess. They're not the same. But so that's important because I grew up with an understanding that I kind of had to make space. I wasn't always welcome or belonged in certain spaces. And so that's really where my passion for Heart and Soul comes in, is creating spaces for people who are unseen or not at the table. So originally, Heart and Soul, we were a chapter of LULAC, which, if you're not familiar with LULAC, is a Latin-based organization. And what we quickly realized was all of our passion for everyone and making everyone feel welcome and included, it was limited because it was a Latin-centric organization. That's where Heart and Soul started. We quickly identified that there were so many sectors in our community that did not feel seen or represented or celebrated or like there was a space. And also bringing in allies that felt so passionate about doing that work for others as well. So we are in our 6th year in motion. This year, which is kind of crazy. It feels like it was yesterday that we started and created Heart and Soul. The best way for you to understand Heart and Soul is that we're a party, but with a purpose. We like to celebrate. We like to have fun. We believe that in celebration, it brings people together and also creates an understanding and a sense of community. And so within every celebration that we do, there is a foundation of basically understanding and a cultural information to learn how to celebrate one another. And so that is a little bit about Heart and Soul. We are made up of BIPOC and also allies that feel passionate about this work. And I think ultimately, having my family's lived here for so long, I have a variety of stories where there are certain injustices and times where we were made to feel like we needed to stay in a certain part of town or a certain place or wherever it is. And so I grew up with a sense of breaking down those barriers and creating spaces where we could all kind of thrive together. And so that's what Heart and Soul is about. I'm excited to say that we have a suite of events, and the next one being Wednesday, which I will have to go and literally write the MC script and everything shortly after this. But we're excited to partner with Thompson School District this year. That event will be on January 31st, and that'll start at 6:30 p.m. Previously, it was at 6, but because of some conflicts with other events at the school district, we did decide to go ahead and move that at 6:30 so that more people could join.
That's Martin Luther King.
Yes, Martin Luther King celebration, it's rescheduled from the 15th because, as you know, we were in an Arctic blast. And so please join us at 6:30. We'll have some traditional African dancing and drumming. We'll have some speakers, local representation, and then also the student award winners. And if you haven't seen their art or the words that they wrote about in celebration of MLK, it's really touching, and I think it's inspiring. And yes, Mountain View High School, the auditorium at 6:30. Doors will open at 6. And so you can come and join us, get a seat, get ready to celebrate. And then it'll probably be an hour and a half-ish to 2-hour event. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, of course. And then real quickly, I'll give you a lineup. So we will be celebrating Amida, Asian Pacific Islander and Daisy Month in May. That'll be on May 18th, more news to come. And then of course, the rest of the celebrations will be supporting our Pride event in June, hosting a Juneteenth event at Backyard Tap, and then ending the year with Latina Heritage Month, which starts in September, which will have a celebration at the Full Lagoon. Actually, that's not the end. The last one is Native American Heritage Month in November. So we are so gracious. We're so thankful for you considering your donations to go to us. Everything we do goes back to the community and the youth to make it so that many people from the community can go for free. And so we will put all of the donations to good work. Thank you so much.
Support Heart and Soul. Yeah, thank you. Great organization. Thank you. Thank you so much for all of the wonderful gifts that you've shared today, and not just your sharing your finances, but also in all the ways that you bless this congregation and heart and soul. Thank you. So today I would like to do something a little different. I'd like to give everyone a chance to speak with joys and sorrows. Now, if we just did that one by one with our microphone, we would be here a couple more hours maybe. But I think I really want to give everyone a chance to reflect on this question. What is the deepest longing of your heart? What is the deepest longing of your heart? And it's interesting that this goes with it, but with that, what brings you joy? What brings you joy, and what is the deepest longing of your heart? So I invite you to we'll take just a few minutes, and I invite you to turn to someone close to you, and 2 or 3 people together. Let's make sure we don't leave anyone out, and just share a few thoughts of what is that deepest longing in your heart. And if you think you've named it, then what else is the deepest longing in your heart. Go further. Go further. Okay? Okay. A minute longer. A minute longer. Go ahead and take it. Yeah. Oh, thank you. So it's the last song.
Oh, the last song, yeah.
But
Okay.
you can take it now. Yeah, if you wanna, yeah. Rumi says, there's a way of breathing that's a shame and a suffocation. Can you feel that kind of a breath? And he also says, there's another way of expiring, a love breath, a love breath. I invite you to breathe a loose, open, free breath. Breathing in love, breathing out love. And that longing, that deep, deep longing. Feel that deep love growing that you have always held within you. You know this love. You know this love. Feel it grow. Feel it grow within you. Feel it in your heart. Feel your heart expanding. Rumi says, gamble everything. Gamble everything for love. If you're a true human being. If not, leave this gathering. Half-heartedness doesn't reach into majesty. You set out to find Allah, but then you keep stopping for long periods at these mean-spirited roadhouses. Don't wait any longer. Dive into that ocean. Leave and let the sea be you. Dive into that ocean and let the sea be you.
Lila La illallahu Muhammadan Rasulillah Muhammadan Rasulillah La ilaha illallahu la ilaha illallahu la ilaha illallahu Muhammadan Rasulillah Muhammadan Rasulillah La ilaha illallahu la ilaha illallahu la ilaha illallahu Muhammadan Rasulillah Muhammadan Rasulillah ilaha illallahu la ilaha illallahu la ilaha illallahu Muhammadan Rasulillah Muhammadan Rasulillah Rasulillah Muhammadan Rasulillah.
I know, I'm going to sit down for this. Yeah. So, thank you for singing along. You might be wondering what we were singing in that last one. La ilaha illallah translates as there is no reality but the one unified reality. There is no, in English, we often translate it as there is no God but God, but we talked about that earlier. That just doesn't work, doesn't fit. And Muhammad Rasulullah, Muhammad is his messenger. Or Muhammad is not his, there is no gender. Thank you for lifting that up, that there is no gender. And, but Muhammad is the messenger, or a messenger, yeah. So, How many of you are familiar with Rumi's work? I'm guessing we have a fair number of people. Yeah. And you might not have realized that Rumi was actually Sufi. I find that fairly often. How many of you are familiar with Sufism? Yeah, okay. Yeah. And on that last piece, that melody, could you hear the longing in that? Ooh, yeah. And I especially love that one. That actually is a melody from Turkey using a special scale that is a Turkish scale called Hijaz scale. And if we went a little long for your taste on that, which maybe we did, and you got a little bit bored, congratulations. That's always kind of the point, because it's when you get bored that there's usually our best breakthroughs. You know, it's reaching that point of, oh man, are we still doing this? I kind of got a little lost in it, but nonetheless, that's a good thing. So I wanted to start with yet another Rumi poem. Today, well, how about this one? Keep walking, there's no place to get to. Don't try to see through the distances. That's not for human beings. I know. Move within, but don't move the way fear makes you move. I don't know about you, but I move the way fear makes me move all the time. So letting go of not moving the way fear makes us move, what does that feel like? Today, like every other day, this is one of the most famous ones. We wake up empty and frightened. Anybody else out there wake up empty and frightened every morning, if we're honest? Don't open the door to the study and begin reading. And I interpret that as don't open the door and open your computer and start working. Take down a musical instrument and play. Let the beauty we love be what we do. I hope we've created some beauty so far today. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. Why would you kneel and kiss the ground? Why would you do that? Out of love, perhaps? Love for life, love for existing, love for the earth? Kneel and kiss the ground. What if we did that every day? Well, I don't know about you, but I need reminders like this every day. I think most of us do. And what a beautiful way to start the day with love and harmony and beauty. That would transform our lives, I think. Well, you know, when I was a kid, I remember thinking, this isn't the way life is supposed to be. I don't know if you ever had that thought when you were a kid, but this is not the way life is supposed to be. We're supposed to be gathering in groups and singing in circles and dancing together and, you know, just sacred singing and dancing. And I always longed for that as a child. I don't know, maybe I was a bit odd, but maybe not, or maybe so. And so it was like in my early 40s, I think it was, that I discovered dance as a universal peace, maybe my late 30s. And suddenly, when I went to my first dance for Dance as a Universal Peace, I thought, wow, this is what I was talking about when I was a kid. This is it. Well, and I've been a part of Dance as a Universal Peace ever since. And Dance as a Universal Peace comes from the first Sufi teacher to come to the United States. That was Hazrat Inayat Khan in 1910. And he came from India. Hazrat Inayat Khan was a very famous musician in India. Music is a huge part of Sufism, if you haven't gotten that yet. He played the veena in the royal courts, as his family had for many generations. His grandfather was known as the Beethoven of India. Yeah. So he came to first the United States, and then after 4 years, he moved to Europe to learn the language and start teaching and bring Sufism to the West. And he gathered a number of students. One of his students was Samuel Lewis. And Samuel Lewis was also a student of Kazanzaki, I'm forgetting his first name, who brought Zen Buddhism to the United States for the first time, before Suzuki did. And so this was all in San Francisco area. So Samuel Lewis was super into Sufism and super into both Buddhism, the Zen flavor of Buddhism. And jumping ahead a number of decades to the 1960s, and we're in the Haight-Ashbury district on the corner of Haight and Ashbury, and we're right in the middle of the hippie movement in Berkeley, California. And Murshid Sam was now in his 70s, and he's looking around at all these kids doing all these drugs and trying to find enlightenment, and he has a vision that it is that he needs to help these kids to find enlightenment, but without all the drugs, and to start teaching them. So he did. He started to teach classes on Sufism, and it was flavored with Buddhism as well. And then they decided that they needed to start doing Zikr. Well, he thought, Zikr doesn't make sense in our culture. We should do sacred music from all over the world, and sacred dance and songs from all over the world. And that's how Dances of Universal Peace was born, was in his garage, with a bunch of 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds who are now in their 70s and are our senior teachers. If you look at our flags back here, that flag on the end, the one with the wings and the heart, the white one on the end, is actually the symbol for our particular lineage, which I kind of fondly think of as the lineage of the hippies. But we're the Sufi Ruhaniyat order. So there are many different kinds of Sufism and many different lineages. But there are a lot of common practices and studies, and our lineage is deeply grounded in the Chishti order. I wanted to share with you a couple of quotes from Hazrat Inayat Khan in his teachings. One of my favorite quotes: "There is one holy book." Okay, you're thinking, okay, what's she gonna say? "The sacred manuscript of nature." The sacred manuscript of nature, the only scripture that can enlighten the reader. The only scripture that can enlighten the reader. How have you been doing with reading this holy manuscript of nature? Has it brought you some enlightenment? Yeah. He also says there is one religion, the unswerving progress in the right direction towards the ideal, which fulfills life's purpose of every soul. Kind of sounds like Unitarian Universalism to me. Yeah. And there is one law, the law of reciprocity, which can be observed by selfless conscience together with a sense of awakening justice. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the Unitarians got to him when he came to the United States. I don't know. No, these teachings go way back, and we find them in Rumi as well. And Rumi is 13th century. So I'm sorry, but that does predate Unitarian Universalism. And he also says, if people but knew their own religion, how tolerant they would become and how free from any grudge against religion of others. I knew you would resonate with these. And he says, the Sufi sees the truth in every religion. There are two aspects of individual harmony: the harmony between the body and the soul, and the harmony between individuals. We might call that covenant, maybe. All the tragedy in the world, in the individual and in the multitude, comes from a lack of harmony. And harmony is best given by producing harmony in one's own life. Yeah, you know, that dissonance just keeps coming in, you know? How do we harmonize that dissonance? And sometimes that dissonance is what makes it really beautiful, but how we turn it into harmony. You know, in that Hijaz scale, sorry, I can't resist. You can hear that dissonance in there that makes that beautiful longing harmony. Yeah. So it is such a challenge to break away from the mundane and the fears and the anxieties that we always have. Unless you're one of those people that doesn't. Is there anybody here like that? I always want to ask because I'm always curious. Is it just me? No, it's not just me. I know. I know. So having reminders and a way to practice is what Sufism is all about. It's about that deep longing of the heart, longing to be one with all of life and to merge into the great ocean like a drop of water. When that drop of water goes into the ocean, is it the drop or is it the ocean? Right? Right, right. That is one of the points. Sufis, actually in Islam, they are the greatest theologians, and the Shia and the Shiite take their theology from the Sufis until this point. At the point where a Sufi says, I have merged with God and have become God, it's like, nope, off with your head. And there were many Sufis that did lose their heads that way. There's one Sufi, I'm sorry, I don't remember the details of who said this, but as this Sufi saint was walking up the steps to the gallows to be, actually he was going to have his head chopped off, I think. He looked to his executioner and he said, oh, dear Allah, you wear so many disguises, but even here, even through your mask, I see you, Allah. I see you. I see you. And he blessed him, and then he cut off his head. So there are so many things that I would love to share, and I do want to show you. If you don't know this book, this is just a beautiful, beautiful book. It's called The Illuminated Rumi. It's a bit old now. All these translations are by Coleman Barks. And it has just incredible illustrations in it. If anybody wants to look at it after the service, you're welcome to look at it. So I just want to close. Like I said, we could go on, but I'm going to stop myself now with one of my favorite poems that I put on a term paper in theology when I was in seminary. I started it with this poem. You'll see why. Those who don't feel this love pulling them like a river, those who don't drink dawn like a cup of spring water, or take in the sunset like supper, those who don't want to change, let them sleep. Let them sleep. This love is beyond the study of theology, that old trickery and hypocrisy. If you want to improve your mind that way, sleep on. I've given up my brain, I've torn my cloth to shreds and thrown it away. If you're not completely naked, wrap your beautiful robe of words around you and sleep. And sleep. May we, at least figuratively, become completely naked and learn from the love that is within each and every one of us. May it be so. Amen. And we have another zikr to close. And this one, imagine that, is La ilaha illallah. And this one has one other word in it, which is hu. And hu is breath. Hu is the breath. And hu is also inspiration. It's very symbolic. But on the word hu, I'm going to invite you to jump. Hu. Okay, you'll see why. So I invite you to rise with this one. And the author of this song says that this zikr encourages openness and being in touch with joy. Anybody ready to be in touch with some joy here? Yeah. We have nothing to worry about. We're just going to sing and be deliriously happy. Sound good? Okay, here we go. Lila. Thank you. Isn't that great? Yeah. It's even more fun when you're dancing around in a circle. It's even more fun then. And I just want to say that I'm thinking of getting Dances of Universal Peace started here once a month. Y'all like that idea? Okay, cool. Awesome, awesome, good. So, as we close, the tradition in the Sufi world and in the Buddhist world, in our Sufi world, in our Buddhist world, is to, first of all, reach out and connect with those around you. If you feel comfortable doing that in any way that feels right to you, hands on shoulders or holding hands or something, or yeah. Okay, come on over here. I know. All right, very good. Now we send all the goodness that we have magnetized, that we have created, that we have stirred up, all that beautiful love, we send it out into the world. And I will sing this song once, and then I invite you to sing it with me. Oh, may all beings be well and happy. May all beings be free from strife. May all beings return to love. Peace be with you forevermore. One more time. Oh, may all beings be well and happy. May all beings be free from strife. May all beings return to love. Peace be with you forevermore. I invite you to raise your hands and say, who? Really loud. Ready? Go. Who? Yeah. Thank you.